Predict, pick, and prevail in your fantasy football leagues with Nick Giacobbe and Nick Cap. From breakouts to busts, superstars to sleepers, these are the guys that will help you achieve fantasy glory. This is the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast.
Welcome everybody to Season 2, Episode 40 of the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast, where we give you our predictions, our picks, with the hopes that we help you prevail in Week 7 and the rest of the 2022 fantasy football season. I'm your host, Nick Giacobbe. Joining me is Nick Cap. Nick, a good amount of information has been released since our last show, and we recorded on Monday night, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and it's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right. It is a Thursday show. It's going to be a bit shorter. We do have a news and injury report segment. We're going to do it in two different portions going forward. We're going to have the news up front, which it get, signings, coach announcements, etc. And then our injury report is going to be, who fully practiced, who was limited, who was out for Wednesday's practice since we're recording on Wednesday night. Then we're going to get into our second segment, which is our Thursday Night Football preview. We'll give you all the fantasy information that you need to know for the Cardinals versus the Saints on Thursday Night Football, injury updates, projections, all that other fun stuff. If this is your first time listening to us, thank you so much. We do this show on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and a live show on Sundays, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can find our shows on all audio streaming platforms during the week: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Spotify. If you're on Apple or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. We really would appreciate that. If you'd rather watch and listen to the show like you do on a Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m., go to our YouTube channel, PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. If you're watching this video or any other video, drop a like on it. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and hit the little notifications bell button so you get notified every single time the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast has a new episode. Keep connecting and interacting with us on our social media channels. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is PrimeTimeFFPod. Facebook and YouTube is PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. All right, we're going into the news and injury updates. Let's start with the news. PJ Walker is going to start Week 7 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It sounds like he's starting on a week-to-week basis. I think I also saw today that Sam Darnold is designated for a return and Baker's out of a walking boot. My opinion, doesn't matter who's starting in Carolina. It's a messy situation. You only want to start McCaffrey, and you're not touching any Carolina quarterback, and you're probably playing the defense that's facing the Panthers every week.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it feels like.
Yep.
I mean, I know I picked up Tampa in a lot of leagues this week to go start them.
All right. I'm saving that for last. Coach Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins said that Tua is expected to start with his concussion injury. Seems like he's cleared concussion protocols, or at least close to it. I don't know if he practiced today. If he did, it was in limited fashion. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But McDaniel did say he is set to face the Steelers on Sunday Night Football as we expected. He also stated that he expects Jalen Waddle to play. He has a shoulder and a groin injury. I don't know if he practiced today, but I think McDaniel also did say there's going to be a light practice schedule this week for Jalen Waddle. So I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't practice today or Wednesday or Thursday, and then maybe gets in a limited session on Friday. Just keep listening to McDaniel and, keep with us, and we'll provide you with injury updates. Mm-hmm. Marquise Brown is expected to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with the foot injury. I think we talked about this on Monday night. This is the timeline that we kind of spoke about. So we'll see what happens, but that's the timeline. And lastly, Nathaniel Hackett has decided to say that Melvin Gordon is still the number one running back. He will start against the New York Jets, and he had a good talk with him. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, he said in a press conference, he said they will need all 3 running backs to be successful. Do you want to go first?
I really want to listen to you because
no, you got to go first. I got to take a drink. Before we started, I'm not even going to say what happened because I don't want to know the result yet. But anyway, there's a reason why I had a joyous screen.
You can lift your shirt a little bit. That'll help indicate.
No, we're just going to go like that.
I'm not confident in any of those Denver running backs. I would have been very confident in Gordon. I think it's the most interesting thing and really says why Nathaniel Hackett is the greatest coach of all time. That Melvin Gordon's good enough for 40% snap share when Javonte Williams is your running back one. But he's not good enough to see the field more than 10 times when Javonte's hurt. So this is a real indicator of how great of a coach he is. He'd rather Latavius Murray, who they had to pick up off the Saints practice squad. Yeah, it's really bad. It's a terrible situation. And I know I'm a Jets fan. I know I've been hyping them up, but they're really good against running backs. They shut down Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon this past week. So like it's not even like one of them is you could confidently start because it's a good matchup, or one of them's a clear cut RB1. So you should start them because there's so much workload where they could outproduce it. Like, no, it's a bad matchup. You don't know who the true RB1 is. You don't trust anything that comes out of Nathaniel Hackett's mouth. So like there's nothing that leads me to believe any of them are going to be startable this week. Maybe if we see Melvin Gordon get 15 to 20 touches, maybe the following week we like him, but not in this matchup, not after that past week. There's no trustable running back over there.
I don't get him. I don't get him. I think I hate him more than I hate Matt Nagy last year. I don't get him. Like, you had Javonte Williams and you said before the season, oh, we're going to ride the hot hand. Well, I've seen a drive where Melvin Gordon has fumbled twice and you still let him score in the end zone. So first off, you're a liar. So let's start with that. You're lying about what you say when it comes to riding the hot hand. Let's start with that. Second off, you're very poor evaluation when it comes to talent because you didn't want to use Javonte Williams at first. Third of all, I have seen some notes around the league that Melvin Gordon was going to get cut at some point before the Javonte Williams injury. And in that game, Javonte Williams is eating up the snap share. But even still, like, you knew the talent coming into the season, so why was this even a question to begin with? So now a situation where Melvin Gordon could have really been a late round, steal, right? Could have been the running back one over there. Could have gotten a lot of touches like he was with Javonte Williams. He could have been a steal for your fantasy drafts. And instead, we now have a really, really messy running back committee by situation in one of the worst red zone teams in the league. And like they don't even get the ball down to the goal line. That's the worst part. I saw today on Twitter, Russell Wilson only has 5 passing touchdowns, and I think the running backs have combined for maybe 3 or 4. I don't have the stat in front of me, but they have to be one of the worst teams like in the league when it comes to scoring per se, both touchdowns and points in general. And McManus, I think, is the leading scorer on the team. So it's really bad. I picked up Latavius Murray in a couple leagues, but I'm willing to drop him. And if I see a player that I like, I'm not holding on to him. If I was keeping a Denver back, I'd keep Melvin Gordon, but I am not comfortable playing any of them. So let us move on to the injury report. Nick, you want to talk about this a little bit? Some of these guys that have fully practiced and will, good news for your fantasy teams at least.
Sure. So returning to full practice this week, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown coming off the ankle injury. He did miss some time over the last few weeks. He didn't look healthy in his last matchup, but he just came off the bye. Fully healthy, looks good to go. Jonathan Taylor, after missing the short week last week, and with Deion Jackson getting the full start, Jonathan Taylor looks back and fully loaded. So I'm going to actually turn to the Nick here. After you see that Deion Jackson stats and how good he did look, do you think they are going to keep using Nyheim Hines in that second role? Do you think Deion Jackson's going to feed into any of Jonathan Taylor's workload, or you think
I don't think so. I mean, this is a guy that's I wish I had the stat in front of me, but his last 2 years fantasy-wise, he was really bad to start the season. Really frustrating. I think he averaged maybe 10 points a game, 12 points a game, and then he turned it up after week 4 or 5. I know we're going into week 7, but he missed 2 games. Should be healthy. The offense started to get rolling. Positive matchup against those Tennessee Titans this week. I think, they are facing the Titans this week. So I think the issue with Jonathan Taylor this year has been Matt Ryan and not Jonathan Taylor. The Colts haven't moved the ball. He looked great in that first game against Houston. It was a really bad run defense. Then the second game faced Jacksonville, and they just got slaughtered. They had no wide receivers. Matt Ryan couldn't move the ball, so they loaded the box. And as good as Jonathan Taylor is, if you load up 8 against him, like there's nothing you could do. Why not run engage 8 every single play? So I think the Colts are starting to hit their groove and starting to find their identity, and that should help Jonathan Taylor. So I still think it's a good opportunity to go and try to trade for Jonathan Taylor if you find somebody in your league that's willing to move off of him and is frustrated, because this could be the breakout week that you're looking for.
Okay.
Moving on, I'll take it from here. Pat Freiermuth is coming back from the concussion this week. They did say he's going to play. Kenny Pickett also practiced fully with the concussion, so I think he's cleared protocol. I have no idea who's playing quarterback on Sunday night. I wish I could tell you.
Mike Tomlin did say if Kenny Pickett suits up, Kenny Pickett's the starter for this team.
Well, there you go. That's information from Nick right there. Moving on to limited practices. Rashad Bateman practiced for the first time in 3 weeks with a foot injury. John Harbaugh did say on Monday he was close to returning, so it looks like he's going to play this week. I forget who they're playing, though. It's the Falcons? No. Who are they playing this week? The Ravens. It's a high spread. I know that the Browns. They're playing the Browns. That's who it is.
That's right.
Hayden Hurst with a groin injury. He should be fine. T. Higgins with the ankle. He's been limited for 3 weeks. Jamar Chase with a hip injury. That's new. Mr. Limited with a hamstring injury. Seems like he's avoided a serious injury, but still looks very, very limited out there on the football field. DeAndre Swift with a shoulder injury was limited. He's pushing to play Sunday. He doesn't sound 100% confident. That's one to monitor with a really bad defensive matchup. Dak Prescott with a hand injury. I assume he's going to start. And Dalton Schultz, the PCL, is also limited. Do not practices for Wednesday. J.K. Dobbins with the knee. I see a Saquon Barkley type situation where he's not going to be J.K. Dobbins until next year. And Saquon is light years more talented than J.K. Dobbins, but it took Saquon basically a year and a half or so to return to form, and now he looks like Saquon again. I'm all off on J.K. Dobbins the rest of the year. Like, I don't know what you can trade him for if you can, but I don't want a part of him.
I agree.
Darren Waller with a hamstring injury. That's something he was nursing before the bye week, but it looks like that's not 100% fixed yet. One to monitor. Foster Moreau was excellent last year when Darren Waller missed time, so let's monitor that one. Taylor Lockett with a hamstring injury again. These hammies they're a pain. Keenan Allen missed like 4 weeks so far. Aaron Rodgers with a concussion. Not Aaron Rodgers. Joshua Palmer with a concussion. Aaron Rodgers might have a concussion too because he just looks lost out there. But it's actually his throwing hand that's injured. And his head is probably a little bit messed up too because he looks horrible out there. He looks really, really bad. He shouldn't be rostered in leagues, just saying. All righty, moving on to Thursday Night Football. This is our Thursday Night Football preview. We're going to talk some injuries, going to talk projections, going to tell you who you should play and shouldn't play and what you should expect for Thursday Night Football tonight in a Thursday Night Football game that should be a billion times better than what we've got in the last 2 weeks, which is exciting. I wish these teams
Andy Dalton and Kyler Murray on double XP weekend.
Yep. I wish they were healthier, though. Anyway, for the Saints, Jarvis Landry's out with an ankle injury. Michael Thomas is out again with a toe injury. That's like 3 straight weeks he's out. That's the Michael Thomas we know. Marshawn Lattimore with an abdomen injury is also out. That's big for the Cardinals. For the Cardinals, Matt Prater, if you had him in your lineup, I would drop him because he's questionable with a hip injury. I got lucky last week with Dustin Hopkins in my lineup, who still had 10 points, and now he's probably not going to play the rest of the season. So shout out to him. He's a winner over there. He is a winner on that team. James Conner with a rib injury is a game-time decision. Hasn't practiced this week and didn't play Sunday. I don't think he's going to play, and I personally hope he doesn't play because I have Eno Benjamin. Robbie Anderson will be very limited if he plays. I don't think he plays. Like, to learn a playbook and to gel with the quarterback within 4 days, that's a little too soon.
They did actually announce that he is going to be out there, so he will be playing. The question is, how much will he be playing?
He will not be playing in any starting lineup in my leagues, that's for sure.
That's fair.
All right, let's move on to projections. Kyler Murray, 21.1 points.
I like the line. I like the number. New Orleans is not good against quarterbacks, especially not since Marshawn Lattimore has had his injury. I am going to say you have to say Kyler hits the over.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The quarterback, I just want to pull up the thing here. The quarterback 5 on the year, Mr. Joey B, had 40 fantasy points last week in one of my leagues against the Saints this year. Or last week. So play Kyler Murray, should have a good game. How about Andy Dalton at 15 with Jameis Winston as the extra super reserve backup?
I don't know. I hate saying like these types of guys because should he be starting in any lineup? Maybe the Walter Picks league with 32 people. Outside of that, no. So I'm going to go with the under. I think it's going to be. We'll talk about him later.
Yep, I'll go with the under as well. How about DeAndre Hopkins in his first game back? 14.6 points.
I like the line. He's stepping into the wide receiver 1 role. It's not like he's learning a new offense. Same coach, same quarterback, same system. I think he's going to have no problem fitting right in with no Lattimore there. You watch Jamar Chase cook him. I'm not saying DeAndre Hopkins is going to go for 30, but do I think in his first game back can he get 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown?
I think a touchdown is guaranteed in this one.
Yeah.
I might put money on it in my prize picks. I think he's going to score. The other thing I saw is that Kyler Murray actually averages 6 more fantasy points with DeAndre Hopkins than without in his career. So one thing to note. What about Rondale Moore at 12?
I like the line here as well. I think Moore's getting a lot more implemented. He would have been on my all boom team tomorrow if he was playing this weekend, but he's on the Thursday. I think Rondale Moore has elite potential to put you up big this week.
All right. I actually did want to pull this up. Talk about Chris Olave for a second while I pull this up. Olave's number is at 14. I think he said that he's going to play. I think he's cleared concussion protocol, so I think he's good to go as far as I know, at least.
I'm gonna I'll go over for Olave. I know I'm saying a lot of the overs, but Olave's been very good this year. In the last 4 games, his minimum targets have been 6. Over the last 3 games that he played, he missed last week in Cincinnati. His floor has been 15.5, so he should pretty much clear that 14 number, being the only healthy wide receiver out there.
How about one more for you? Let's go Traquan Smith. He scored 13.3 fantasy points last week. His projection this week is...
It was very low.
6.5. So the Marcus Callaway is actually higher in projection.
Callaway out-projects him, but I would say Traquan hits the over. He has 2 games this year where he's hit over 12 fantasy points and then 2 where he's only at like 2 points. So, if they get the ball to him, he's going to do well. If they don't throw the ball to him, he's not going to do well. I think they're going to have to pass a lot more in this game than they want to. I think he has a good amount of upside to catch some balls here.
I'm with you. I'm going to say the over for both of them. I think they're both overs. So let's just say whatever Cardinals running back plays here. I don't think James Conner plays. Eno Benjamin's at 14.8. I don't think Conner's playing.
I think Eno is going to hit the under here. He had a much better matchup last week. Was a clear cut one there. Like they used him as much as they could, and he was very inefficient. Only finished with I think 9.5 fantasy points. Now he's going up against New Orleans, who has a much better front seven. I'm gonna have to say the under here. I just think it's too high of a projection.
Yeah, I'll go with that as well. How about Alvin Kamara at 19.1?
He's looked good. He's looked very good with Andy Dalton at the helm. I'm gonna say he hits the over here. Not by much, but over.
I'll say it too. Zach Ertz, 12.7. The only tight end in the league, I think, that's had over double-digit fantasy points every week so far. Kelsey probably has too, but Zach Ertz is over 10 fantasy points 6 straight weeks.
I am going to go with under here. I think this is going to be his first week sub 10, and this is as a Zach Ertz owner. It's a terrible matchup. I think they rank number 2, and he's going to have Demario Davis shadowing him all game, who is an elite cover linebacker.
I'll go slightly under, but around 9 or 10. I don't think he hits 12. And lastly, Taysom Hill at 7.9.
20-plus points from Taysom Hill.
Oof.
Monster game.
Touchdown over, no touchdown. He's getting 3 points. So it's very touchdown dependent over there for Taysom Hill. All right. That's our show for today, guys. Thank you so much for all of you that listened, for all of you that watched. If you're on YouTube again, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, share the show with your friends. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, a 5-star rating and a review would really be appreciated. Next time you hear from us will be tomorrow, our Friday show. Biggest show of the week are all boom and all bust teams, some injury updates, flex on them, talking about some flex players from every single team, help you out with those rosters and those bye weeks. Going to be a lot of fun. We love doing the Friday show. And of course, Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for listening. Enjoy Thursday Night Football tonight.